Okay, we can start right now, right? Work with Samsung, I have worked with Synopsys, and I'm working with ST right now. And I have done like whole flow in terms of DFT, and from the very starting point when we check the very basic part of DFT till the pattern deliveries. And this will be the introduction of DFT, in which we will discuss what is the DFT and what all these things. We can discuss that later. And I welcome you, all of you, to actually come here to attend this session. And yeah, we will go through all of this, but do we need to have an introduction session for everyone, Rajat, or how is it?
Yeah, you can directly start because there are a lot of students currently.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so if anyone have any questions in between, or anyone need anything, they wanted to know something related to DFT or in general basic VLSI as well, we can go through this. But this will more like a session. It's I have created some questions actually, because in introduction I wanted to know what all people are thinking about what is DFT and all. So in between I'll give you the answers as well, but I want everyone to at least write down the answer on that chat panel, so that we can know what is the DFT idea of the idea of DFT you guys have, and we can then brush up on further things. So what I have created as a part is the content is something like this, like what is the introduction of testing, then manufacturing test, and then faults, parts of DFT, and what is the roles and how we can the main part is the rules, like what is the scope of DFT, where DFT can go, those things. If we are here, like, so do you have any idea like what is the testing, what we call testing is? Anyone have any idea? And they can write down in the chat window. I'll read that.
Testing of hardware and software is known as a testing.
Okay, that's the only thing. Hardware and software testing is the only thing you think it's the testing? Anyone else wanted to want to try something? What they think the testing? Yeah.
Hello.
Yes. Go ahead.
Testing is after completion program, sir.
Actually, there's a lots of noise from your side. I'm not able to hear. Hello. Hello.
Sir.
Yes. Go ahead.
Testing after completion of program, sir.
Okay.
Verification of functionality.
Verification of?
Verification of functionality.
Verification of functionality. Okay. That is one part. Verification of functionality for anything. Right? Testing is actually for anything, not only okay, before that, anyone wanted to guess one or want to have any other answers or wanted to try something? No? Okay, so one answer we get that it's testing of verification of software and hardware. Other one is verification of the system. So actually testing is that sorry?
It's giving some inputs to the system and checking its functionalities.
Sorry.
డిపాజిట్ల మీద ఇంట్రెస్ట్ల మీద వడ్డీ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ మీద ట్యాక్స్ అనేది అందరు బయటికి తీసి బయట
Actually, your voice is not clear. Is it only with me, or and anyone else is solving the problem to clearly hear that?
Sir, is DFT and duty are the same thing or different thing?
DFT and
DUT, design under test. That.
so okay, design under test. I'll explain it to you, but that is these things should not be comparable. Actually, I'll comment to the DUT is something very. It's a block. Actually, DUT is nothing but whatever you are wanted to test. It's design under test. Whatever you design you have and you wanted to test it, we call it as a DUT, design under test. And DFT is altogether is a different branch of VLSI. Okay, I'll go for that. What is testing? So it's actually somewhat we are going to one part when we call it verification of a system. So that's actually the correct one. That verification of a system, not only the hardware and the software. Anything or someone is basically making a product. And that product may be anything. It's a daily use. We can call anything like a vehicle, a comb also, anything which can be like a medicine or like in general purpose, like even the trucks, bikes, everything is whatever we produce, a company produce a software, a hardware chip, a mobile phone, our laptops, computers, aeroplane and helicopters, anything which we produce, we need to verify them before delivering it to the customer. So to do that verification, we have multiple scenarios to consider, and there are different type of testing. So one is if we are having a general purpose product, for example, you have a wallet, and in case of wallet also we wanted to test, okay, whether the quality of that wallet which we have produced, how much long it will last. So we use a different fabrics, and that, for example, we'll take the example of an electric vehicle. So when we go through these electric vehicles, they have done some testing, but I think most of you recently heard that there are cases of fire in electric vehicles. So that is actually the flow. So that is actually something no one test, that if we go to that extreme condition, what will be the result. But when so these type of things companies or the manufacturers needs to do before delivering their products. So it's actually the verifying of the product, and the product may be anything, like literally everything, whatever you are purchasing, that needs to be tested before giving to the customer or before giving to the final person who is using it. Your voice is very low, actually, if you are saying hello. Hello, who is talking? I am not able to hear you clearly. Hello, can you please? Hello, hello, can you please mute yourself? Rajat, can you mute that person? Hello. Okay, I don't know. Hello. Yeah. Okay, so testing, we know, okay, this is the verification of the product, and the next question will be the why testing is important. What do you think? If we don't test, what will happen? Anyone wanted to give some example or anything they think that is why the testing is important?
If we not test the
You are mute again. Like, I don't know. I am not able to hear your voice.
okay, if we
Yes.
are not test the product, then in that scenario, we can't find the desired result, which for that the product will be developed or it going to be misbehave.
So what will happen? So if you don't test that, there might be a chances that product is not working as per the specification, right? So what is the cost of that?
The cost of the product will be failure.
Product will be failure, and that will be a very big cost for the manufacturer, right? I think there are a lot of example previously. People heard that Samsung call back their particular devices, or Apple call back their particular devices, or some automotive industries also call their particular vehicles because they find out that this particular fault is there in that after the rolling out of the product. So there are two things. One is actually the product loss, because then if you are having a product which is a faulty, people generally don't believe that. And not only in that product, people generally don't go and buy that company's other product as well, because they will make their mind that okay, these companies are having these problems in their product, and they generally, it's a very big, I can say that, very big of business loss. So so one thing is that anything, if we want, the testing is the very basic and the very fundamental thing to do before releasing our product. So when we call it testing, so the next question is more or like, what is DFT then? And why? So anyone have any idea about DFT? What is DFT? Okay, one question I wanted to ask everyone. Sorry, just 1 second. Everyone here is a B.Tech grad or someone also doing M.Tech? Only the only the people who are in M.Tech can just tell that I'm doing M.Tech or something like that. Anyone doing M.Tech? Okay, so I believe that everyone is in B.Tech and everyone in their final year or their pass out, or so. I just wanted to know whether you heard of this term before.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what do you like? What do you know about
DFT, DFT is nothing but design for testability. So after starting from specification to manufacture, the each step design is verified, but it may still happens that the design can be faulty after manufacture. So DFT, here comes the DFT that it adds some extra logic to the design so that the design can be tested after manufacturing in terms of increasing controllability and observability.
Yes, that's actually the correct definition. In terms of theoretical part, we need to understand. That's the very good definition. Thank you so much. I don't know your name, but yeah, it's actually the correct definition. So anyone else have any other definitions? Because
Yes, sir,
I'll yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I think some additional circuits along with the original circuit. Sometimes there is a requirement of additional circuit to just to check the hardware to, that it is working correctly or more efficiently in a good way. That
Uh,
it should cover a maximum possible faults in less time.
okay. Okay. Yes. True. Anyone else?
It
Okay.
is used,
So yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
sir, it is used to add one logic, sir, and to enhance the contributivity and ability of a
Hmm.
circuit, sir.
Oh, yeah. That's correct. Actually, I'll tell you our case. That's so. You guys are actually having that knowledge. So before I joined DFT and what I learned in my college experience, so we know that when I first heard the term DFT, and I have some friends who have done internships in DFT and at a very reputed organizations, and they came and they told us that we were part of DFT, and our thinking at that time, I was surprised actually. Like the answers which I get, it's actually the correct one, and most of the people know is so. But it's a little surprise for us because what when I first heard about DFT, I was thinking I don't know what VLSI is doing with the discrete Fourier transform because for us DFT is like discrete Fourier transform only. We never know it's designed for testability and all of those. Most of the people, I'm not talking about us. When I joined, like there are a bunch of people who was part of DFT and they never heard of this term. So it's good to know that people know this. What is the DFT? And yeah, that's actually I'm surprised. So yes, for all of other people who did not know what is DFT, there are multiple reasons because in colleges I know that there are a lot of colleges and even in MTech they don't teach this subject, and it's a very new domain, I can say. Like before 15 years or 20 years there is no such DFT team as such. People who are doing the verification are responsible for DFT as well, but yes, it's a growing field, and DFT stands for the theoretical if you go to the theoretical definition, I'll just quote it as in DFT stands for design for testability. It's the additional circuit which we design inside the original and the actually we can call it the functional circuit, so that we can able to test our circuit easily with a less time, less number of patterns. We can test our circuit with less time, less number of patterns. So to do that, to reduce the number of patterns, I'm just saying this, I'll explain the patterns and other things after this, like as we go further in this. But yes, to reduce the number of patterns and to reduce the time taken to test the circuit in VLSI. So that is what the definition of DFT. So you have already actually answered that question also, why we call it as a DFT, because we are designing some part of it for the testing only. So the next question will be, so what is the scope of DFT? So one question is, most of the people know RTL, most of the people know verification team. Many people know about the PD and the physical design team, which is the back-end people. But there are very few people, like right now it's actually DFT is getting more traction. But what is it, till which level DFT can go? And what is the scope of DFT in the coming 10 years, or maybe we can call it 20 years? So anyone wanted to go? for this question? What do you think? How DFT will change? Like, what is the scope? Why? How much it can give you in terms of growing when you wanted to
Yes,
grow? And yes,
yes, I can tell you. Today we are seeing everything is becoming in electrical. EVs are coming into the picture, so everything needs design and testability. So
okay,
DFT will grow it will grow exponentially coming in 10 years. So it will be a multi-millionaire industry. So there will be a lot of job opportunities. It's completely booming. I
yes,
see. Each and everyone are getting into design, and they want everything to become electronics.
yes,
Even I heard that.
yeah,
Even I heard that the companies like Apple are making electric cars. They are they want to beat Tesla.
okay,
That's how the competition is going on. So it's internationally I'm telling that, but in India also, like I heard, even Mercedes, everyone are hiring DFT engineers right now. So with the small scale to 10 years, we have a wide range of what to say career platform in DFT.
so yes, you are correct. Anyone else?
So another thing I want to add, like, I mean, what I think is that as the technology note is shrinking, so it is more important to test rather than design, because as the design becomes more complex, so whatever is the design, but verifying and testing it will be more difficult. So that's why DFT will become more important. And second thing will be that the future will be all in field application. That means this e-vehicle and other these things. So they are the so I want to add in terms of example, like for e-vehicle, the suppose internally the automatic brake systems fail, but user will don't know, user cannot know. So that time this beast will help us to detect things. So in that terms, this will be more important. So these two I can attend.
Okay. Anyone else? See,
To
one thing
increase
yeah,
reliability of the system. To increase the
sorry.
reliability of the system.
Okay, the reliability question. Okay, so actually, I wanted to all of you know that this is actually a session which is very basic, and everyone can interact, because what we are in interacting on a virtual platform. If everyone is not able to interact, please let me know. We can, even if you're wrong. I was actually kind of a student in my college or school when I was very hesitant when I was talking to people, but that is something you need to do eventually in your career. So it's actually a very good platform for everyone to have talk about their ideas, talk about what they think, and that's why actually I ask these questions. And otherwise I can do, most of the people have their, I also know everything, and I can just bring a PPT to you guys and just do all these definitions and all of those. Only the person who is talking is me, and most of the people will get bored or out of it and will leave, even if for this class also. That's the reason. But if you take interest and if you speak whatever you thinks, that might be not correct, but that might be a new thing I can also learn. So actually, if we make it as an interactive session, it will be good for you and for me as well.
Yes, that's great, Rajkumar.
So, yeah.
Rajkumar, honestly, to ask, your initial is Rajkumar P. Are you from Bangalore?
Yeah, I am from Bangalore.
Okay, I have like heard your name before as well in some like.
From where? Sorry, can you please
So
tell your name?
my name is Sajjad. Currently
Okay.
I'm working in HP. So I did my electronics and ENC from 2018 batch.
Okay.
And yeah,
Okay.
were you into DV before?
No,
Digital Very.
no. I
As you
started.
said, yeah. As you said, you worked in Samsung.
Yes.
So I'm just asking.
No, I was not in deep. So okay.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe that someone else. Okay. Anyone else wanted to guess what is the scope of DFT? And I can go ahead. Anyone? Okay. Then I'll go. So the scope wise, actually, what DFT will be in after or like after 5 year or 10 year, it will be a domain where you'll see the maximum growth. And why I'm saying this? Why I'm saying this? Because till now, what we have, so even today, there are people who are in verification and they are doing DFT. But that was only in few teams. I see teams in 4 years, teams growing from 15 to 50, and they have planned already from 50 to 100 or 200. And people who knows DFT are very less. Actually, in my 4 year of career, I know almost, I'm telling the almost, I may not be cover and all the companies, but I know people almost from every company in DFT. So it's very small industry till now, and but as the market of the chips are growing, because in today's world we have chips in almost every possible equipments we are using. The number of phones increase, the number of tablets, whatever we are at, the AC, the washing machine, our fridge, our TVs, our modems, everything has chips. And as the number of chips are growing, and we have the scope of number of chips are growing, and the DFT complexity is increasing day by day, because the DFT complexity of an automotive vehicle is very different. The DFT complexity of a microphone, for example, or a phone or a laptop, because when we
Excuse
talk
me, sir.
about, yes, sir.
Sir, in DFT team, they
Yes.
only hire MTech people or BTech people have also a chance? I want to know.
Sorry, do we have MTech people? Or?
Sir, in DFT, in DFT, they only hire the MTech people or BTech people have also a career in DFT?
I am BTech. I am not a master's person.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So
I got
I
an
think,
answer.
yeah, that you will get your answer from this. Yes. So actually, see, I'll tell you one thing also. Like, we are literally searching people who are having a little bit of knowledge of DFT. Literally a little bit knowledge. I interviewed almost 20-30 people from past 6 months, and I'm not getting those people. So if you know TFT a little bit also, like you know what is it, what is the different parts of TFT, what is the different type of faults and all of those, you have a very good chance. And I know in industry right now, there is a crunch of people who are good at it. Because we
Sir,
have people.
being a undergraduate from BTech, we don't know much about DFT. So can you suggest some materials for DFT?
Yeah, I'll suggest you the book and you can go through this. Actually, the problem with the books, like I'll tell you what will happen when you go through the books, because you have literally everything available in YouTube. If you go, you will have NPTEL, and you will have, like, from very basics to the final end, you will have that video lectures from IIT professors and from professors who are sitting in Taiwan. where actually there is a hub of electronics, but why they are not actually having, you will not go there and you will come there. What is the problem? The problem is the theoretical knowledge is not enough, and what you want to out of it, you don't want it to write paper. I'm very sorry for this noise. You don't want it to write a paper, you don't want it to do research, and those theoretical actually it's for research. When you come to us, and I can say that come to me or the people who are teaching here, we will give you the perspective how to join a company, and what is it we are asking to the fresh graduates, so that you can go there and you will have a little bit more chances than the people who are who are actually trying out, because you will have what type of problems we see in real life scenario. We will give that examples as well. So that is what actually make it different. Like anyway, I'll give you the book name also. I'll suggest you some videos also, but that is all the theory knowledge. There might be a chances you'll see it, but theory is one part, but when you go, I'll make you to think of that directions also. So that is what we are planning. So I have planned my this DFT course like that. So I want you to clear the interviews, not to write the papers. Anyone else have any questions? Or we'll go ahead.
Sir,
Yes.
why many companies not have this domain? Only repeatedly DV peoples are there, PD peoples are there. Why only product based companies have DFT only?
So which company you are talking?
Like service based companies, so many companies are there, like Moship and
Actually, I'm not sure, but I'll give you the general idea of this domain. So actually, what have, so before 15 years or 20 years, what is that? There is no DFT, because that time the people who are doing the verification, as I already told, they are the people who is responsible for the verification, like the DFT part as well. Because we don't have these scenarios where we have millions of transistors or billions of transistors. So before 20 years, if you go back, they are the designs are actually complex, but not as complex as we have today. So somehow verification peoples are managing that. I see my managers or the people who are right now the managing the DFT team, they are from verification and they are from PD. They are from different domains, but somehow they ended up as a DFT manager. So it's actually growing field. So that's what I told everyone, right? So if you will see a growth in DFT will be more than other domains, because other domains are already very matured. DFT is still maturing. Not every company, I'll give you the example also, that not every company has their DFT separate from DV today also. But there are people who is working only this aspect. Yes.
Sir, my friend, one of the guy is working on the DFT, but he selected DFT. He is doing in synthesis domain, sir. Synthesis work, all related to STA work. So, why not this?
Yeah, go ahead. Your friend is
Yes,
working
sir.
DFT and he is doing synthesis work.
Yeah, he is doing synthesis work, sir. Some STA kind of. Hello, sir.
So that comes under synthesis team. It's not a DFT actually. So STA comes under PD team, the physical design team.
Hello, sir.
So they everyone can see, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what was that last question about the people? Some person is doing the synthesis work or STA work during DFT, right? So actually, there is a very minute difference, if you can say that. I feel that people should know one or other domain, but there might be a chances that I think that person working under DFT but doing the synthesis part, I never heard of this thing. There might be some people need people from other domain so that they can fill up their position. That might be chances there. Okay, anyway, anyone have any questions related to the scope of DFT? And
No, but I have one question, sir. If I have a experience on some other domain, so what is
yes,
the chances of this? Because I have a more than 5 year of experience in other domain. So
so
is there
which
any
domain you
chances?
have?
I have a telecom, sir, deployment.
That's fine. See, everyone in industry actually understands. So there are people who wanted to change from software to this also. If you know things, that's possible. So that's the only criteria is that you are aware of the DFT or you are aware of other things. We hire people from software domain because they wanted to change their domain and they are actually trying to move to the VLSI. So we hire that. So that's not an issue as such. It's all about the perceptions of people. There are some manager might be they don't wanted to consider, but there are some manager who can consider them also. So the chances are there. Okay, we can go. So actually, we understand that what is manufacturing tests. So, so the next question will be verification versus DFT. So one question arises that if we already have that verification team and verification people are doing their work, they are actually testing the device, then why DFT? And if we have two different teams, then what is the difference between these two teams? Anyone have any answers? What is verification people are doing? Why we have DFT team? And what is different they are doing and what is different we are doing? Anyone?
Sir, after this, after DFT is verification is there, mainly checking the functionality. I mean, logically it is correct or not, but after verification, so there, I mean, a lot of problem can be happen. So the metal layer or the layers, even not only the in terms of layer, but others also during fabrication, lot of problems can happen. So there, in terms of cheap actual things, there can be various problems can happen. So that's why there the DFT came. So and I mean, role wise, there, I mean, there are various like in terms of memory, in terms of pattern delivery, like this.
But okay, so question: if you told half, like I can say that's the 50% correct. That verification people are doing functional testing, and
Yes.
what we are doing it's manufacturing testing, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's not possible for verification to test the manufacturing parts. What is it a DFT people is giving? Because see, any team, they should be relevant, right? If you are in a company, you should be relevant. Otherwise, no one will invest in you. So they should be something different we are giving from verification people, or I can say not different as such, but something benefit. Anyone have any answers?
Hello.
In terms of hardware, maybe the things like how compact and how things we are introducing, so that maybe.
But they are already doing it, right? So even if a very complex hardware, for example, we are making a self-driving car. That's very
Yes.
complex because it needs to have the AI and everything should be working together. Still, in that project also, verification people are doing their testing. And
I'm saying that in terms of hardware, the extra hardware we are adding, so that parts maybe like.
So we are adding extra hardware also, right? That
Yes.
is actually making the chip more area consuming, right?
Yes.
That is actually not the benefit, but actually that is the drawback of DFT. We want to minimize the area also. So in
That
terms of
idea,
phone,
I mean that thing I'm saying that DFT will look only that things like how compact we insert the hardware.
but if you go for the verification is actually testing the functional paths, right? They don't need to add any extra logic during their testing. They are not adding any extra logic actually.
Yes.
Only the DFT people is actually adding the extra logic. And if we can do our testing without doing and adding any extra logic, that's the best part. But still we need DFT. Okay, anyone else?
Sir, actually verification team just verify the functionality. Whatever the RTL team actually they write the code, right? Based on the functionality, they will check that, and whether that functionality is working or not. That is the function of this design verification.
That's true. So the question will be something like, suppose if somehow manufacturing fault is there. For example, you just think that there is a manufacturing fault in a chip. Do you think it functionally will work correctly?
No.
Then their test also test that manufacturing fault as well, right? If they are testing functionally, and if there is a manufacturing fault, their test will fail.
Yeah.
So they can test that manufacturing faults as well, and their test will able to manufacturing their faults, like test their manufacturing faults as well. Okay, anyone else have any different answer to this question? Okay, I'll go ahead. So actually one part is that verification people is doing the functional verification, whether the functionally my chip is working or not, and DFT people are testing the manufacturing faults. That is something answered by all of the people who answered that as well. But what is it DFT giving extra? So actually, if we wanted to test verification, like if we wanted to test our chip and with respect to the verification people, we need a lot, we need actually a very high data of patterns. So if, because verification people, how they can test. So for example, we have a state machine, and if we wanted to test that state machine, we need to follow the process to program that state machine. Like if we wanted to go, if there is a counter circuit and we wanted to have a counter value 8, for example, we have a counter from 16, and if we wanted to have a 8 value on that counter state machine, we need to follow from 0, we need to increase the count from 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Then we have a state called, which we call it 8. We want that state. So during this process, we waste our 8 cycles. If we, how verification people do, they actually can run functionally. And what DFT is doing, they are making out of that 8 places, you can just do the same task in 3 cycles, or maybe say 4 cycles. So this is extra a DFT person is doing, because we are adding a different hardware. We are adding something called scan chains. I don't know how many of you know that we are doing the scan insertion or all of those things. So it's easy for DFT people to control that circuit compared to the verification people, because verification people are also doing that, but they need, suppose if a DFT person can do that same task in 10 pattern, verification people need at least 20 or 30 patterns to do the same job. So if we need more pattern, then we will compromising on the time, the test time, and test time is actually very limited you have, because when a chip is already on a tester, it's a very high cost. How much time you are spending, how much time a chip is spending on a tester, it's costing a lot of money for a company. So that is something to reduce the test time and to reduce the number of patterns. So pattern reduction is actually you are reducing the time to test that particular chip. Anyone have any questions still they can ask?
Sir, so I mean that means I can say that the actual thing is I am in terms of verification to TFT, the in terms of time and volume, we are reducing 2 to the power n to something very less. That is the thing.
Not 2 to the power n. I'm not giving any. There is no particular comparison, but I'm saying that yes, it's actually verification people. We can do that everything, but it's actually taking a maybe more than twice, thrice, or maybe 10 times also to test the same, to cover the same number of faults. Because in verification you need to move in a certain way. Like I gave example of a counter. You cannot directly jump to a different state, right? So that is one thing which is actually making DFT a bit different than verification. And anyway, verification actually have some patterns they are running after the ATE, but not all. So because they have that, in verification you can make multiple scenarios, multiple different type of test, different type of vectors you can write to test your IC. So this is actually very difficult for verification to cover 99% or almost more than 99% of your chip in a very short number of patterns. So that is what make DFT different. And altogether the process is different, but this is actually one thing, the number of pattern, time you reduce. So, and if we are 100% sure, for example, so if you verify your chip on a simulation tool, the functional verification, and you are 100% sure that there is no manufacturing fault, because DFT is claiming that it is 99%, 99.9% is there is no manufacturing fault. So there is functional verification is already done on software, so there is no need for functional pattern to verify it again. So this will actually reducing the money your company is spending on this part. So that is what DFTs work. Anyone else have any questions? So all of you know what type of manufacturing faults we have? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Anyone know what is the manufacturing faults?
So it can be staggered fault, transition faults, bridging faults.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else? What is manufacturing fault and why we are calling them as a manufacturing fault? Guys, don't be silent, yaar. Just let me know. Yeah. Sorry.
I have a question about it.
Yeah. Just go ahead.
DFT engineers are somehow making easier the job of verification engineer. Are we replacing the verification engineer?
No. We are not replacing the verification engineer. See,
So we have
verification is
separate
all.
verification.
Yes. So actually, a verification engineer is doing something very different than DFT. But this question I put up here because initially verification people are the people who are actually maintaining the testing of the chip. Then how we as a company or we as an industry go to that point that we need a different team to test our chips? Because initially everything is done, testing, verification is everything done by verification guys. We are not replacing verification, but we are doing something very different than verification. And the question is more like, if verification people is also doing the testing, what is the need of DFT? So
in
that
that
is what.
scenario, I mean, DFT engineers are something doing inserting extra hardware in the design part itself, right?
Yes, a DFT engineer is actually doing inserting a lot of hardware to make that particular IC chip, anything you wanted to call it, a little testable. Like it's easy to test. It'll take less number of cycles, less number of
Mainly
patterns.
their role is
are
in
the
the
DB
design
people
part
are
of
also
it.
doing DFT?
Sorry?
Sir,
Mainly
are
their
the
role
DB
is in
people are
the
also
design.
doing DFT?
One by one, actually, you both are. Anyone can go first. I don't know the names of the people, so I cannot call the name. But yeah,
Actually, what my question is, are DFT engineers doing design kind of things or testing alone?
DFT engineers. So actually, DFT engineers are so it's a full process. So DFT engineer is actually planning what type of design we wanted to insert. So there are tools also. They can do it because we have different IPs of DFT, which is actually helpful for a DFT engineer to test their circuit. So that is also the part of DFT where you insert or you generate your different hardware, and the testing also. Like we have generated the patterns and then pattern simulation, running those pattern on a 80. 80 is a very big equipment. So in India, there is generally where the fab is, the 80 is present there. 80 is basically the automatic test equipment. So you put your pattern over there and you actually have a chip already fabricated and you wanted to run those patterns which is generated by DFT people on that actual chip. So that is also that is not a part of DFT altogether because we don't have fab here, but those patterns, and we call those people test people. So that is actually from inserting the design of DFT, design for DFT, till the pattern delivery. And there is something we call here as a pattern failure solutions. So we call generally as a debugging of actual chip, pattern debugging on actual chip. That is also part of DFT. I'll go till that. The
Sir,
second
are the
person.
DB people also doing DFT?
No, right now it's not in the trend. Previously it used to be, but right now DV, I don't know any team of DV actually having DFT knowledge. They are not having. They don't know DFT much right now, because the people who were there at the verification and doing the DFT, from that point of time, DFT changed a lot. And right now DFT is much more than the testing. It's actually the security, it's actually the reliability, and their silicon lifecycle management. That's a very new concept. So that's not a part of verification. So they are not doing the DFT as of now. Almost 90%, I can say 90% of the company or 95% of the companies have DFT teams. Okay, we'll go to the manufacturing faults. So I'll just simply explain this. It's actually what we wanted to test and what we are testing in industries. So first is stuck at faults. Anyone knows stuck at faults?
Yes, it's stuck at 0 and stuck at 1, either connected to ground or VDD.
VDD, yeah. So what will happen if it's connected to ground or VDD?
So that particular node is constantly as 0 and 1, and I mean, that is the problem. So we cannot make I mean, as the objective of DFT is to toggle every I mean most of everywhere and every portion of the chip, so that portion we cannot toggle, so that will be the problem. And also in terms of functionality, it can be defective chip.
Okay, one more person is actually.
Yes. So when we're going to manufacturing the chips, then I think the related circuits are
your voice is.
You can add in the
extra metal or that something that's connected to by default it's 0 or 5 VDD. So the circuits are.
Actually, your voice is not clear, and at least I can hear a very. Your voice is not clear. I'm really sorry. I cannot hear you clearly. Everyone else is hearing him clearly, or is it same for all?
No, sir.
Same for
Same for all. Can you ping that? Maybe that one will be sufficient. Anyone else wanted to go for stuck at fault? So actually, I am literally very surprised. Most of the questions which I don't know during my BTech, you all of knows that, and that's very good. Anyone else?
Particular node or wire is stuck at logic 0
Sorry?
or 1. Particular node in a circuitry will remains at 0 or 1 irrespective of input.
Okay, yes. So it's actually during the manufacturing, that's everyone answer that. During the manufacturing of the chip, the process is very complex, so there might be a chances that some part of your chip or some circuit get connected to the power rails. It's either a ground power rail or actually the VDD or VSS, whatever you wanted to call it, so that we cannot drive that particular signal to any other thing. So there are different type of manufacturing fault. One is these are very prominent faults which in industries we are checking. So one is stuck at, one is transition fault. Anyone knows transition faults?
Yes, it's that delay fault where mainly some delay category. So at speed testing it comes under. So we check that in particular rated frequency, the nodes will I mean it's rising or falling in the rated frequency range in time window. That.
Okay. So different type of.
It is a delay fault.
Sorry.
Can I say it is a delay fault?
So actually, right now you can call it as a delay fault, but delay fault is a little different than the transition fault. So there is a path delay fault as well. That is also kind of a transition fault, but that is somewhat different because there is a very minute difference in delay, transition, path delays. There is a very less different, but right now you can call all of those as a transition faults. I'll explain you when we further move forward in this lecture and further other lectures as well. So there is some difference, but right now you can call all these faults as a delay faults, transition faults. Okay,
is
anyone?
there we are I mean, is there in that delay we are considering the critical path, and here we are not, like?
somewhat, yes. That's actually the path delay faults you are talking about. The critical path and all. That is the part of path delay faults. So anyway, I think you might know it, but you can text me. I can. I'm happy to give you more example of it, but I think most of people don't know the path delay and the delay faults, and someone is slack faults as well. So they are different faults, but majorly in industry we are actually checking these type of faults which I have written. These are the two major categories of fault which we check actually for logic. Okay. So anyone know that bridging fault is also one fault? Anyone have any knowledge about the bridging fault?
Sir, can you please repeat it again?
Right in the chat box.
Sir, which fault?
Doing
Bridging
two
fault.
circuits during manufacturing.
Sorry, just go ahead.
Hello. During the manufacturing, during
You can
voice
write in
also
the chat box. You can write in the chat box. Your voice is not coming.
Hello.
your
During
voice
the
is not.
manufacturing,
Sorry, your voice is not coming.
Actually, this I mean, these bridging faults are like unintentionally the wires are sorted. So I mean, it may, and the high chance is that when there is much congestion and they are close together, so during manufactures these two are unintentionally sorted. So that is a bridging fault.
Yes, these are the bridging faults. Okay. So as he already answered it, but I'll say that. Okay, so for example, we have two buffers and the inputs of those buffers are connected. So that one, if we want different values on the buffer, we cannot have it because anyway all the inputs are connected to each other. So that is what we call bridging faults. So these we can actually, when we further move, we will discuss these all things in detail. But this is only the type of things we can discuss, like what are these. Anyone heard about the IDDQ faults? Any idea?
I said here in terms of current rather than voltage, we are checking the faults.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else have this idea on the IDDQ faults?
Position current.
Yes. So actually, yes. Go ahead. So this is actually one particular type of fault which I wanted to try once. I've read about this fault, but not major companies in our industries actually using that fault model for their testing. But this is something very interesting concept. When we are not going towards voltage, we are going towards current, and we are seeing that some current is leaking even though we don't want that current to leak. So if we have a PMOS or NMOS, and that NMOS in a open state, I can call it that it should not pass the current, but still we are seeing some current is leaking, and that type of fault we comes under this category. So these are all we have discussed the logic fault. So what do we think about the data retention faults? Anyone have any idea?
So I don't have idea, but I can guess like data retention is I mean the state power off or power on the system that I mean the data it is maintaining the state it cannot. So That may be the thing.
Yes. So it's actually
Related to memory, maybe.
yes, it's actually related to memories. It's not related to the logic. It's actually memory. When we program our memories, but after some time the data got dissolved, or we can call it that data is not retained in that cell. So that is something we call it as a data retention fault. It is not able to retain the data which we have already programmed in the memory. So that is something. And what is coupling faults? Anyone have any idea? So these are all the memory fault we are talking about. Anyone have any idea? Or
Coupling fault is that when that memory, as you know, that row column structure is 2D structure is there. So coupling is when one cell is changing the value, so the neighborhood cells are affected. So that is
okay. Yeah, for everyone else, during our memory, so if we program one cell, for example, so if we wanted to program one particular location, because of that programming, any other cell is changing their value. So that is something we call as a coupling faults. And what is the read disturb fault? It's a very simple. We have that that name of that faults is only giving that idea about the fault. Do you have any? Anyone have any guess? Wild guess? It's okay if you are wrong.
Not read correctly, sir. Not reading.
Sorry.
Sir, not reading correctly for what are there in this. Sir, not read much more before correct the fault. I guess, sir.
I'm really sorry. I did not hear you clearly. Can you please repeat?
Something related to reading the logic from the memory. Not
Yes,
able to
something
read.
related to the reading from the memory. Yes.
Read cycle, not able to read the right.
Yes, you can call it. Okay, I'll give. So it's actually when you wanted to read something from memory, and during that read process, there is some other cell which get disturbed. That value may change. So the neighboring cell's values changed when you read that particular cell. So that cell, that fault, we call it as a read disturb fault. So this is also one concept which is interconnect faults. So what we call it interconnect fault? Anyone have any idea? Any guesses? It's okay to be
Connection or mismatch. Connection or
यार actually your voice यार बहुत मतलब clear नहीं है. Your voice is not that clear, so I cannot make out
Something
with
similar
sentence.
to coupling faults. The logic on one will have an influence on the other.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, then I'll go with interconnect fault, but this is actually something very different. This is very. I'll ask you different questions to understand that interconnect fault. Anyone see any PCB board in which we have multiple chips? Have anyone sees that? I think everyone should have seen that. In our phone, in our
yes, sir.
Everyone have that PCB board, right? And in that PCB board, we have multiple chips, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so yeah, so if we have on the PCB, we have multiple chips, how we can sure that whatever the data we are giving during the functionality of that chip or the board, that data is going through the input of the chips and passing inside the chip. So that needs to be also checked, right? That pin is working or not. You can call it as a pin, but in general, in industry, we call it as a pad for a SoC. So input output of an SoC should also needs to be checked when we are having a board. And similar to if we have a sub block of a design. So in terms of like, suppose we have a microcontroller chip. In microcontroller, we have different things, right? In microcontroller, we have processor, we have input output devices, we have data transfer, like that PCB bus, and some macros are there. So those are sub blocks of a microcontroller, and those pins. So these are all the sub blocks having input output pins. That those pins also be faulty, right? We are giving an input, but it is not reaching to the internal part of the chip. That is also a possibility. So to check those pins, we call them as an interconnect faults. The connecting fault between input output or something like that. Oh, hello. Yeah. Hello everyone. Once again. So okay, these are the I categorize these are the parts of DFT. Everyone know about the scan part of DFT? Hello? Anyone knows about the scan part of the DFT?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so some people know, some people might not know. So actually we will take a very big lecture on this, but the scan is actually when we are trying to test the logic of our design. So we convert all the flops into the scannable flops, and then we generate converting of those scannable flops and everything, like we are inserting new hardwares for the compressor, decompressor, and there are multiple things and during the scan insertion. So we should have at least multiple classes to understand the scan part of it. So when we doing the scan, we will need to cover the stuck cat and transition faults we have already discussed, and then we generate the pattern through ATPG. We call this process as a ATPG. It's an automatic test pattern generation by different ADA tools. There are different ADA companies which are providing ADA tools for the pattern generation, and then those patterns we need to simulate them on different simulation tools are available from Cadence, from Synopsys, from Siemens right now. That was Mentor, but it is acquired by Siemens. So those are actually the scan part, and people generally have scan team, and we have people who are doing the memory testing. We call it as the MBIST. So MBIST is basically it's a built-in self-test. So memory testing is actually very different than the scan testing, because in memory, one reason is that memory architecture is altogether is different, and the type of work we wanted to do through memory is different. We only want to put a 0 or 1 on a memory. We don't want any logic to be calculated or any values to be having a different complex architecture. Its memory is only like reading from memory, writing in the memory. So we have very different type of tests for that, and that we call it MBIST. And there is one other branch of testing is boundary scan, and we have JTAG. Anyone know what is JTAG is? Have anyone heard about JTAG before?
Yes.
What is it?
So JTAG is when we comes in board testing. So I mean in a board level. So there are various. If I consider I have various IP from different vendors. So the vendor provides a common. Common architecture to I mean a general architecture to test their things. I mean not only IP they provide, but with IP they provide some extra thing like a wrapper. So to standardize the things, that is the JTAG. I mean it's IEEE standard, Joint Test Action Group. So 1149. That only.
Okay. So for the people who don't know this is actually the full form is, as he already told, that Joint Task Action Group. So actually this is, there are some people, the history wise, the people who are trying to formulate a common method to test, so that to test the interconnects and a different type of testing they can do through a common mean, so that people can transfer their IPs to the vendors and we can use different IPs. So for example, everyone else knows that there is ARM. ARM is a company which sells their cores to different people, like to different companies, and those cells, those cores needs to be tested, and those cores have this feature which we call as JTAG, so that it makes a person's job easier, because JTAG is common and we can have anywhere, any different company. It's a standard basically. So like a Verilog, what is the need of Verilog? Anyone can have their different HDL languages, but the need is that if you are selling your core to different people, they can understand also. So that is a standard. Verilog is also a standard. VSTL is also a standard language. So like that, we have a JTAG, which is actually a IEEE standard used for multiple purposes, but in DFT we use for interconnect testing, and we use for programming our chip, and we have a boundary scan team who is doing the top level things during the testing. So there are interconnect tests and also. So that's the last slide, and this is something about the roles in DFT, and as we already discussed it, but I'll just leave it to you guys. If you have any questions related to this field, related to the roles, what are the different, anything in DFT, if you wanted to ask, platform on you can ask, and we can wrap up after this.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
What was scan insertion and all? Actually, I have a doubt whether DFT engineers are doing that design part as well, or simply we are checking the nodes by means of the scan nodes. Or
So DFT people is actually, if you ask me the real design, no,
we are not
we are
doing
not
scan
doing the
design.
real design. We are adding, no, scan design you are doing. Scan design, actually it's your job, but I was talking about the actual functional design. The functional design is not yours part. So actually designing is, scan is, as we say, that it's not a very small concept. It is having literally a lot of it, and the people who are doing all in DFT, there are multiple scenarios which you can make in scan. There are different problems which arise during scan, and actually in all of those domains, scan is the major component of the DFT. So that role and that scan insertion, everything done by DFT people. Does that answer your
comes
question?
under design stage, right?
That comes under different
Design, that comes in design stage before manufacturing.
Yeah, that's so actually if when you take a raw design, you need to insert your DFT logic also. So that is also one stage. We can go ahead when we actually do this. So this is more a general presentation. When I'll go ahead with this course, then we will see at which stage DFT is playing their role. So
Actually,
during the RT
I'm confused about
synthesis.
what is the actual role, whether we are doing manufacturing testing along with the hardware, or we have some role in design as well.
So actually, so we what in general in industry we call scan insertion. It's not a functional hardware designing. So those scan insertion and every part is actually a tool based, and tool will generate your scan architecture according to you. So you will have to think about what is your test plan, what should be, how you wanted to test a circuit. So that is up to you. That is up to you what you need to decide, what you will do. But there are different tools which can support you in that. But in terms of actual hardware designing part, it's not a job of DFT person. You design the scan part, but not the actual functional part of hardware. Any further question on that?
And what is still required for this job for that?
Sorry, what is the requirement?
Sir, what is still be required for this type of job?
Skills.
That's all actually. Yes. That's the all thing. It's the whatever you have learned in your digital and the one which we are going through.
Other than theory, what sort of
Sorry?
practical skills? Other than the theory,
Other than the theory,
what other skills are expected from you?
so actually there are different tools. So if you ask me, there are different vendors are providing different tools, and those vendors are majorly, there are three vendors. If you have heard of Cadence, Synopsys, and Siemens. So before it was Mentor. So those provide different tools, and those tools needs to be learned by a DFT people. But in general case, people don't ask tools because tools can be learned. I have recently given interviews in multiple firms, and I have taken interviews also in multiple for multiple candidates. We never ask about tools. So tools needs to be learned. That's true. But how much is that those tools are important? That needs to be checked.
Sir, if
Yes.
I learn about it to like Cadence versus layout editor, is that will be helpful for me to get a job?
In DFT, Virtuoso is not a DFT tool.
No. I know, sir, Virtuoso is not a DFT tool, that is a layout editor. If I know about Cadence, because in my college lab, we have the facility to know about the tool. If I know, if I'm just asking, that will help me or not?
So if you have tools from Cadence and those were for DFT, those will be helpful. Yes, those will be helpful. But actually, I know very few companies are using Cadence tools. That's what I'll tell you. So one thing is actually, I know Synopsys tools. I've never worked on Cadence and I've never worked on Mentor. And there are people who have worked on Cadence tools, or there are people who have worked on Mentor tools. They don't know about Synopsys tools. So tools is actually more or less same. So if you ask me whether that will be helpful to learn the Cadence tool, yes, it is helpful. But actually, it's not that much. If you learn the tool, it's good for you. It will give you an edge. But yes, that's you need to have that different problems during DFT.
So being a fresher, what the company expect from us? I mean, for DFT.
So actually, being a fresher, company don't expect much from you, but they will at least if you are going for a DFT role, And if you know these concepts, so there are two scenarios: whether
Sir,
you
the
know about
concepts,
DFT,
sir, the concepts means the which you have told now, like the faults.
the faults, what is scan, what is MLIST, what is boundary scans. So
There
those
are a
things.
lot of concepts, and we will cover in the upcoming class. There is not only these concepts are only there.
So
Like
actually,
50+ hour class.
these concepts is very detailed. These are just I'm saying this as a very layman languages, but inside the scan you will have people working more than 15 years, and they are discovering different scenarios. So these are different things. So these are the things which you will see, and inside the scan there are multiple things. Like I have done scan for 4 years, and still I'm not 100% confident that maybe that some scenario will come. I don't know. So
Sir,
these things
actually,
is,
sir, actually being
yes.
a undergrad of BTech, so the things which you have told, like the fault, the interconnect boundaries, I have actually never heard of. I'm listening it for the very first time.
Vinayak, this
Yeah.
course is for that only. This course is for that only, right? So even other students don't even know like what are the concepts. So we are covering in this course. So you can check the details on the website, like what we are covering, right? So you are doing BTech or MTech?
BTech, sir, BTech.
BTech. Okay, then go for the course, right? Because without the course, it is a very not like, if the college company is coming to your college, you should be in the creamy layer in your class. Only then company will consider you. Otherwise, get the skills for the off campus. Obviously, without the right skills, only Verilog and digital are not sufficient to get the job. You have to get everyone knows, na, that everyone knows like digital and Verilog. You have to showcase some extra skills also. So that is the thing. There, we can help you in that thing.
Like the companies which are coming to my college, they are just asking digital and Verilog, and some
No,
part
no, no, no.
basis part of analog.
Everyone knows those things. You have to add some more things. So where you can take the advantage over the average candidate, that is a reality, right? You have to take the advantage over the other candidates. Everyone knows the Verilog and digital. 80% knows the Verilog and digital, right, in your class. So that is a thing. Where are you taking the, like, have you done some protocols or not? Have you some CDC lint, all these concepts? Like, you should be extra advantage in some profile. Let's say DFT.
Yes, yes, I
You
got your
should
point.
have extra knowledge in the DFT, right? You have to take the advantage because they will take only 5 students per out of 100 students. So, and like, let's say 60% of your students know the Verilog. So how you are taking the advantage over other candidate? That is a thing. And on-campus placement are very like, it is very easy to get the placement. Off-campus, it is obviously you have to get there is a lot of competition and you have to learn a lot of things. Superficial knowledge will not be sufficient for at least for the off-campus. So that is a reality. So anyone else, any doubt?
Hello. Hello.
So yeah, Chandra.
So I have two questions. I mean, two things. One is question, and another is, I mean, if you can give any contact of your either mail ID or anything,
Yeah,
LinkedIn profile.
we will give you like, if you are enrolling for the course, obviously mentors will be there. Like two other mentors are also there for the DFT course. So it is like, but you have to enroll for the courses, right? Courses are very like reasonable cost. You can pay in installment, everything is there. But obviously we can't give the like 50 hours classes on the DFT free of cost, obviously. And job assistance is also there.
Sir, what is the price of this course?
It is 20,000. Right now it is 25,000. You can pay in installment also. Installments option is also there. So don't worry.
So I have a question. Can I ask?
Yeah.
So actually, we have seen. I mean, mostly we, in terms of a violation, everything we have seen like there is asynchronous set reset everywhere. We have seen asynchronous. But my question is, and I know that how to, I mean, solve the violation. So my question is, why not synchronous is used? And I mean, whether it is used or not, and if it is used, is then some specific application or circuit whether it is used, and the second thing is if it is used and if there is synchronous violation, then how we handle it.
Sorry, the synchronous reset violations you are talking about.
Synchronous set reset, like everywhere we are seeing asynchronous set reset, everything. I mean, everywhere, every tool, we see asynchronous set reset only. But what about synchronous, like whether it is used or not, and if it is used, then any some examples?
It's not like that everywhere you see the asynchronous set or reset, but the maximum probability is that they are asynchronous, right? So that is because one reason I can tell you that suppose if you have your PC and that is stuck at somewhere, you want it to be reset. I'm talking about in very layman language, but yes, you want it to be that PC to be reset. Which type of reset you wanted to design? Whether it should be asynchronous or asynchronous. Because at that time, you need to think only if I press one button, it should be in the reset stage, right? It
Okay,
should not
so
be, okay, if I press that one button and then if clock is coming.
should be independent of
Because
the clock only.
yes, it should be independent. So there are, I'm not saying that there are not possibility of synchronous reset or sets, but there are some specific cases that might be you need synchronous reset. But generally that the thing is your reset should be independent of the clock so that you can get reset only through one pin, not waiting for the clocks to come.
Okay, so and if I if I consider in terms of testing, what is the advantage? So I mean, that is the only thing. Like while testing, if suppose I mean, for any reason I have to reset the whole system, then that time only asynchronous will quickly do the thing. So that why, I mean, that's
So
why in terms of testing.
actually in testing, we generally reset in the very beginning of our test. So we generally reset through asynchronous reset, so that we will have, okay, there should not be an unknown value, but that is not important actually. We generally do that, but even if we have an unknown value, we clean that space through our known values. So in generally DFT, we have asynchronous reset. We don't have synchronous resets.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm having one doubt.
Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
in the initial when you start this session, you said in the coming future, actually, this importance of DFT will increase a lot, like exponential.
Yes.
So
yes.
whatever the concepts actually you have explained, with the help of A and ML, is it not possible to automate? Really, manual intervention is needed.
So actually, when you are asking the question about AI ML, is it not possible?
Okay.
So this question is actually having a lot of dimensions, but I can tell you one thing that, so what will you do? So if you do everything, so have you heard this scenario in which I think, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, but I also heard that someone actually able to take control of someone else's car, because we in our cars also we are having only one thing that can be controlled through anywhere, because we also, that automobile maker also need to give more number of choices to the people, but that can be easily, security breach should be there, right? That possibility is there. And if you're making the similar type of security, or if you're making the similar type of chips, then it will be very easy for people to do the wrong things also. So right now the problem is, when we are talking about this all digital world and all, the data breach and the security is one of the biggest concern of today's world. So in DFT, we are actually making, because we are putting all the flops in a single chain, and that is very risky job. And that is very risky job. So if one person wanted to retrieve the data, he can do that through that particular chain. So we need to prevent that also. So somewhere DFT is going towards that security demand. Somewhere DFT is going towards that reliability of the chip. So for example, if you have an automotive chip becomes very difficult to test, because you want that chip to be tested on a regular intervals. Whenever you open a car, you just self-start your car, you want that chips to be tested, because if it fails, you are talking about a human life. What is at the risk? It's a human life. So it's actually DFT is expanding in different domains. I don't think so that AI or ML will replace full thing. I don't think so. If that is the possibility, then it will replace everything, even in PD and STA. What are you doing? You are doing the same thing with the help of tools. So that can also be replaceable.
Yeah, thank you.
So we are ending this meeting. Anyone have any doubts? So okay then. So if anyone have any doubts, we will discuss in the next class. Yeah, tell me.
I have a doubt.
So fee 20,000, sir.
Yeah, fees is 25,000. RTL plus DFT. RTL plus DFT it is actually. RTL plus DFT.
How many installments, sir?
Installment 2, installment or 3 installment. You can talk to the WhatsApp on me. Like we will discuss it. Don't worry.
Okay, sir. Online or offline, sir?
It is online only.
Only online,
Recorded videos.
Yeah,
Recorded
right
videos
now it is
will be
online.
available.
What?
Recorded videos will be available.
Yeah, it will be available. It will be available. Don't worry. You can WhatsApp me. I am the admin of the group. You can WhatsApp me anytime.
Okay, sir. But I don't send messages, sir.
Yeah, just WhatsApp me. I can't sort out your queries now here. So anyone have any real
course duration?
Course duration is around 4 months. Yeah, 4 months.
RTL plus DFT combined.
Till you get the placement in a product-based company. If you are the fresher, if you are the BTech fresher, then 10 lakh rupees job we can guarantee. And if you are the MTech fresher, then 17 lakh rupees we can guarantee. If you are in the first year, second year, no gap in the career, like after the MTech, no gap should be in the career. That much guarantee we can give in the product-based company. But if the gap is there, then it will be around 8 lakh rupees or 7 lakh rupees. If the gap is more than 2 years. So take the decision on the right time. If you are taking the decision after your degree, obviously some product-based company will not call you because of the eligibility criteria.
Excuse sir.
Yeah, who's this?
Yeah, I'm Suresh Kumar from Chennai. Yeah, I'm working with an engineering company. But for some reason, if I want to switch to an industry side.
Yeah, just WhatsApp me. WhatsApp me for your queries.
What
I'm the admin
this
of the
will be
group. You can
helpful.
WhatsApp me. Okay then. Okay. Thank you. So no one is having any doubt now. So we are ending this meeting. If anyone have any doubt, feel free to pinch me on the WhatsApp. I will sort out your queries. Okay then. Thank you, Raj sir. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Michael.
thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye everyone.